Hi everyone, Real Funny Feel Tano here, the internet's busiest music nerd. I hope you're doing well, and it's time for a review of the new Godspeed album, Godspeed, at State's End. This is a brand new LP from legendary post and instrumental rock outfit Godspeed, You Black Emperor. The band's music has long served as the soundtrack to the West's and capitalism's merciless pillage of the world around it. The band is responsible for what are some of my favorite records of all time: Lift Your Skinny Fists, Slow Riot for New Zero, which is why back in the day I was sad to have come into the band's music, as they were well into their multi-year hiatus they started in 2003. But then eventually I was excited to see the band make a triumphant return at the start of the 2010s with killer reunion shows, their fourth full-length record, Alleluia, Don't Bend, Ascend, which is an excellent LP, highly recommend it. Rarely are comeback records this good. But in my opinion, at least, the band started to see diminishing returns the further they went into this new chapter of their career. I felt 2015's Asunder was merely passable, the bare minimum of what a Godspeed record should be. Then Luciferian Towers a few years later is easily my least favorite work of theirs to date. The new LPs just seem to be on this disappointing trend where the instrumental crescendos aren't quite as grand, the finer details aren't quite there either. There also seems to be less of an emphasis overall on experimentation, drones, the creative use of field recordings that have been a trademark characteristic of the band over the years. And I can't just expect Godspeed to artistically do the same thing forever again and again and again on each new record, but I don't really feel like we've been getting a new direction as much as we've been getting a lesser version. And while I really had no reason to expect things would get much better on this latest project, I will say, after witnessing some of the most hellish years in this country's existence in my lifetime, nothing sounds better than some dystopian anarcho-hymnals to wash it all down. Now, like many Godspeed records as of late, this thing is mostly centered around two very lengthy pieces, two shorter palate cleansers. First, the 20-minute A Military Alphabet, following that the 6-minute Fire at Static Valley. Then follows the next major piece on the record, Government Came, also 20 minutes in length, and then Our Side Has to Win closes up shop after that. The larger pieces, of course, work in multiple phases, and honestly, I'm a little torn between both of them. There are points where A Military Alphabet feels like it's trying to squander every bit of potential that it has, which is unfortunate because the whole thing kicks off with this very mysterious, textured, sloshy field recording passage. It sounds like lost transmissions and radio static. This is a vibe I haven't quite heard from the band in a while, something I'm sort of excited to see return. But ultimately, there's not really much in terms of a core sound or message that translates through all of it. Eventually, it quickly gives way to an instrumental passage that essentially sounds like the band kind of tuning up. The next movement on the track sees a gentle build-up, which is a good sign for any Godspeed song, but it seems the end goal of this cut is to deliver this very average mid-paced riff and just slowly thicken it up with more bass and strings. Honestly, it feels like Luciferian Towers all over again. Except maybe this time there are some subtly psychedelic rhythm guitars sloshing away in the mix, some tangy organ chords hitting on every other beat too. It's like we're suddenly getting a 60s psych garage flair to Godspeed's sound in this chapter of their discography. Once the instrumental palette of this passage is established, the track doesn't really go anywhere all that surprising. Frankly, it finishes in a way that would have just been too obvious had the band been writing and recording this piece 20 years ago. But for as much as I complain, I actually wish this part just coasted out for the rest of the piece, because it's actually a lot more preferable to the next movement, First of the Last Glaciers, which, yeah, does kick off like a total slugfest in the first minute, but the slower tempo, ghoulish guitar melodies, and fiddles that follow make me feel like I'm listening to a bad combination of post-rock, country, and novelty Halloween music. But really, the following interlude track, Fire at Static Valley, the 5 minutes and 58 seconds of this piece, is more compelling than all of the 20 minutes that just transpired with the previous cut. I love the slow, ominous, steady kick drums on this track, the chilling, dirgy melodies soaked in delay, the looming layers of strings that melt into the supremely dark chord progression. It's enveloping, it's haunting, as Godspeed's best stuff tends to be. Now, the next major movement on this LP, Government Came, I actually loved quite a bit. I think it's one of the band's best pieces since Alleluia. Sonically, it may not be as dynamic as the old stuff, but it still courses through this linear and organic progression of crunchy bass riffs, weepy string melodies, heart-wrenching guitar leads. The whole piece is a truly tragic, awe-inspiring ascent that feels like the whole world spiraling down into hell. But by contrast, the next section, the Cliff's Gaze section of this piece, brings things into an uplifting direction, with warm, hopeful, anthemic, folk-inspired lead melodies that just soar over all of the grand rock instrumentation. It's like the whole piece in this album are seeing a moment of redemption of some sort. Following this, the track Our Side Has to Win is like a drony, dreamy finisher, very soft on the ears. And while I did find some sections of this LP pretty underwhelming in the first leg, I think the project ties up very nicely. Really, in my opinion, Godspeed's best LP since they came back with Alleluia. And you know what? Even though it is lacking in some respects, as far as the current field of post-rock goes, I can't think of too many bands or artists that are sounding better than this right now anyway. Feeling a strong 6 to a light 7 on this one. Tran. Zishin, have you given this record a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well over here next to my head. It's another video you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, music, Godspeed, forever.